I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, spilling my guts on some online forum, but honestly, I don't have anyone else left to talk to. Maybe I'm just venting, or maybe I'm trying to make sense of everything that's happened. Either way, here's the story, and don't hold back with judgment. I need to get this out. My wife and I have been together for 8 years. We got married pretty young, both of us excited to start a family. When she told me she was pregnant, I felt like everything was finally falling into place. I was working my ass off to give us a good life, and she was everything I'd ever wanted. The pregnancy was tough, but we were in it together. Until I found out I wasn't alone in that moment. It started about 2 weeks ago when I noticed small things. Her phone would buzz at odd hours, and she'd quickly lock the screen when I walked into the room. I didn't think much of it at first. Women, I figured, sometimes keep secrets, but then the messages started piling up. I'd catch her glancing at her phone a little too often, typing quickly, hiding her screen. My stomach sank every time. I knew she was hiding something. One night I was sitting on the couch trying to relax after a long day when she went to the kitchen. Her phone buzzed again. I couldn't help myself. I reached over and picked it up. It was unlocked. I'd never done that before, and I saw the message pop up on the screen. It was from her boss. The words made my stomach churn. The message was flirtatious, casual, but with a tone that felt wrong. Something about meeting after work, a joke about keeping it discreet, and a lot of emojis I didn't recognize. My hands went cold and my chest tightened. I read it again, then again. It was unmistakably inappropriate. I felt my jaw tighten, my palms get slick with sweat. I wanted to yell, to confront her right then and there, but I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the phone, trying to process what I'd just seen. That night I stayed up, my mind racing. I found her email history and her chat logs. It was worse than I thought. They'd been texting. Weeks, long, intimate conversations that made my stomach turn. They talked about meetings, dinners, and even plans to see each other after hours. Her words betrayed her, and I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. How did I miss all the signs? No, more like I didn't want to see them. I've been so caught up in trying to make us a family that I refused to admit the truth. The most gut-wrenching part: she's pregnant. During my pregnancy, she's been sneaking around, lying, betraying everything we built. I felt like I was punched in the gut every time I thought about it. My wife, the woman I loved, was cheating on me with her boss, the man she works for, someone I'd always thought was a good guy, and I'd never suspected a thing. I sat there in the dark, clutching her phone, trying not to cry. I felt a hot rage flicker inside me, burning brighter with each passing second. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face while I was out trying to build the future we talked about? It felt like she'd been lying to me from the start, and I'd been too blind or too trusting to see it. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling, replaying everything. The betrayal, the lies, the secret conversations. I thought about confronting her then and there, but my mind was too jumbled. I didn't want her to see me like this, desperate and broken. No, I knew I had to plan something. I needed to make her see that I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. The next day, I started gathering evidence. I printed out every message, every email, every chat log. I kept my phone hidden, knowing she might check it or try to destroy what I'd found. I felt like I was building a case against her, a record of her betrayal. I also found her boss's number just to be sure I had everything. This wasn't about petty revenge. It was about setting things straight, about making her face what she'd done. I knew I couldn't just walk away. Not after all this. I needed to make her regret it. I needed her to know I was serious. I was going to give her one chance to come clean, then I'd decide what was next. But I wasn't planning to leave quietly. No, I had a plan that would hit her where it hurt: her pride, her trust, and her sense of security. The thing is, I'm not sure I'm ready for the fallout. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing I might fall, but I don't see any other way out. I just hope I can get through this without losing everything. Or maybe I just want her to see what she's lost. I don't know yet. If you're out there reading this, just trust your gut. Don't ignore the red flags, because once you see the truth, everything changes. And sometimes you have to fight back, even if it means tearing everything apart. I spent the next few days buried in my thoughts, piecing together what I'd uncovered. The evidence was solid: screenshots of their texts, her emails, the chat logs. Every message, every emoji, every secret plan they had made. I kept them hidden safely on a drive I bought specifically for that purpose. I knew she had access to her phone and email, so I had to be careful. The last thing I wanted was for her to catch me digging and destroy everything. Her behavior hadn't changed much. She still smiled at me, still acted like everything was normal. But I could see it in her eyes, those fleeting glances, the nervous tics. She knew I was onto her. Or maybe she just sensed that I was starting to fight back. Either way, I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not after everything I'd sacrificed. I remember walking past her one evening trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, honey. How was your day?" I asked casually, trying to sound normal. She looked up at me, her face flickering with something I couldn't quite place. "It was fine," she said, a little too quickly. "Just tired, nothing special." I nodded, feeling my fists tight. "Good. I'll get dinner started soon." Inside, my mind was racing. I knew she was hiding something. I could feel it in the way she avoided eye contact, in the way her fingers trembled when she thought I wasn't looking. I also knew I had to act carefully. Confronting her without proof would be pointless, but I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. That night, I decided I needed to gather more concrete evidence, maybe even catch her in the act. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, pointed toward the hallway where I suspected she'd meet her boss if she was sneaking around. I knew it was a risky move, but I was desperate. I had to see her face, hear her voice, find out if she was stupid enough to slip up. The camera was small, almost invisible, but it would tell me everything I needed to know. The next morning, I woke up early, my stomach twisted with nerves. I sat in the living room watching the camera feed on my phone. I kept a close eye on her, trying to catch any sign of guilt or deception. Hours dragged by. My palms were sweaty and my heart pounded every time her phone buzzed. I wasn't just spying for the thrill, I wanted the truth. The brutal, undeniable truth that would make everything clear. Around noon, I saw her get a message. My breath hitched. She froze for a second, then quickly typed a reply. I saw her smile, a nervous, fake smile that didn't reach her eyes. She looked around the room like she was trying to hide something, then hurried to the bathroom. That's when I saw her slip her phone into her pocket. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let her delete or hide anything. I waited until she was in the shower, then snuck into our bedroom and grabbed her phone. I opened her chat logs again, and this time I started recording everything. I knew I was crossing a line, but I felt like I'd already crossed too many. I needed to build my case, and I needed her to see I wasn't messing around anymore. When she got out of the shower, I was there waiting, phone in hand. Her face went pale. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice shaky. "Just looking," I said, trying to keep my voice calm but cold. "I want to see what you've been hiding." She swayed slightly, her eyes darting around. "You're overreacting, it's nothing." "Nothing," I sneered. "You've been lying to me this whole time. During my pregnancy, while I was trying to prepare for our kid, you were out texting your boss. How could you do this?" Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked as if she wanted to say something, but no words came out. I saw the flicker of fear in her eyes. That moment, I knew I had her caught. She was trapped. I didn't yell. I just looked at her, feeling every ounce of betrayal burn in my chest. "I'm done. We're done. I'm not letting this slide." She finally managed to whisper, "Please, I didn't mean for it to go this far." I shook my head. "Save it. I'm done pretending. You're not who I thought you were. And I promise you'll regret this." I handed her back her phone, then turned and walked out of the room, my mind racing with what to do next. I could feel the weight of everything crashing down on me. Still, I knew I had to stay strong. I had a plan now. She'd find out what true betrayal feels like, and I wasn't going to stop until I made her see the damage she'd done. So I stepped outside, took a deep breath, and started to plan my next move. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about survival, about reclaiming my dignity. And somehow I knew I was going to make her pay for it. The revelation hit me harder than I expected. I knew I had her caught, but that didn't make it any easier to process. I felt this strange mix of adrenaline and nausea, like my stomach was trying to knot itself up. My mind kept replaying her words, her nervous glances, the way she tried to lie her way out of it. But I wasn't buying any of it anymore. That was the moment I realized I needed a plan, something precise, something calculated. I spent the next couple of days doing what I do best, planning. I wasn't just going to confront her again. I wanted to hit her where it hurt, make her understand what she'd thrown away. I also needed to keep my composure because I knew she'd be desperate to deny everything or spin some story to save herself. But I had enough evidence now. She couldn't wiggle her way out of this. I started by gathering everything I'd saved, screenshots of her messages, the chat logs, her emails. I even checked her social media. There was no way she'd expect me to be this thorough. I wanted her to feel the pressure, to see I was prepared for whatever she threw at me. Meanwhile, I kept feeling this gnawing urge to confront her, to do it now, to rip the Band-Aid off. But I knew better. I had to get her in a moment where I was in control. I needed her to see that I had all the cards. So I waited, watching her actions, listening to her excuses, noticing how she still tried to act innocent when she thought I wasn't paying attention. One morning, I finally decided I'd go for it. I'd set a trap. I ordered a small, discreet tracker and stuck it on her car when she left for her doctor's appointment. I also prepped some fake documents, an email from her boss, some fake receipts, just so I could use them as leverage if I needed to. I wanted her to believe I was more prepared than she thought. That afternoon, she left with her bag packed, heading out as usual. I watched her drive away, my stomach tightening. I felt like a predator, but honestly, I didn't care. She'd been doing this for weeks. Behind my back, it was time she faced the consequences. I stayed home and kept my phone on silent, waiting. About an hour later, I saw her car come back. She looked tense, tired, her face pale. She went straight to the bedroom and closed the door. I knew I had to act fast. I waited a few minutes, then knocked softly. "Hey, honey, can we talk?" She hesitated, then opened the door slightly. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. "What do you want?" I stepped inside, keeping my tone even. "I want to talk about everything, about what I found out, about the messages." Her shoulders slumped. "Look, I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. I was overwhelmed and I made a mistake." "That's not a mistake," I snapped. "That's betrayal. While I was busy trying to build us a life, you were out sneaking around with your boss. How does that make you feel?" She looked down, tears falling down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, I really am. I don't know how it got this far. I love you. I want to make it right." I shook my head, feeling my jaw tight. "You don't get to just say sorry and move on. You lied for weeks. During my pregnancy, while I was trying to keep us both healthy and strong, you were out doing this." Her voice cracked. "Please, I was stupid. I was weak. But it doesn't mean I want to lose everything." I took a deep breath, feeling the sharp sting in my chest. "Well, I don't think I can trust you anymore, not after all this. You've shattered what little faith I had left." She looked desperate now. "Is there any way we can fix this? I swear I'll stop. I'll cut ties with him. Just give me a chance." I looked at her, cold and detached. "You've had enough chances. I've seen everything I need to see. The truth is out and I'm done pretending. I want my dignity back." She reached out, tears streaming. "Please don't do this. I love you. I want us to rebuild." I cut her off. "It's too late for that." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the evidence I'd collected, the screenshots, the chat logs. I slid them across the table toward her. "You're not fooling anyone anymore." She stared at them, trembling. "You're going to leave me after everything?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I am. I deserve better than this, and I won't let her get away with it either." I stood up, feeling this strange mix of relief and numbness. "You'll find your things packed in the guest room. I want you out by the end of the week." Her face crumpled and she looked like she might break apart any second. "You're serious?" "Absolutely," I said, voice cold. "I'm done with your lies. Don't contact me unless it's about the divorce, and I suggest you start packing now." I left her standing there, crying, her world falling apart. I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted. But I also knew this was just the beginning. The real battle was about to start, and I wasn't going down without a fight. That night, I sat alone thinking about everything that led up to this moment. I kept replaying her words, her lies, her betrayal. Now I had to decide what to do next, how to make her understand that I wasn't just going to walk away quietly. I wasn't going to let her destroy what little was left of my dignity without a fight. And I was ready, more than ready. The house was eerily quiet after she left, like a ghost town. I didn't sleep that night, couldn't. My mind kept circling back to everything, her betrayal, the things I'd seen, the plans I'd been forming. I was angry, no, furious, with her for betraying me during such a vulnerable time. I felt a molten heat in my chest, like my insides were burning. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that guilty look she tried to hide. But I knew I couldn't just sit around stewing. I had to do something to truly make her regret this. Not just for me, but for myself. I'd spent years trying to build a life based on trust, and now I saw it was all a lie. I needed to show her that I wasn't some doormat she could walk over. The next day, I got to work. I called in a favor from a friend who knew some private investigators. I didn't want to make a scene or tip her off, just enough to gather some intel. I told him I needed to know what she was up to, if she was really following through with her threats or if she was trying to spin her way out. I knew the kind of person she was. She'd probably try to smooth talk her way out of this, say she loved me, beg me to forgive her. That wouldn't work. While I waited, I went through her things, her emails, her phone, her social media accounts. I wanted to make sure I had everything she might try to hide or destroy. I also checked her bank account for anything suspicious, any secret deposits or withdrawals. I was building a comprehensive picture, one that would leave no doubt about her guilt. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was the investigator. "I've got some footage. Your wife's been meeting her boss quite a lot lately. They've been going to a hotel downtown a few times, and I got some photos of her leaving in the early morning. Looks like they've been hiding everything well, but I got enough." I clenched my fists, feeling that rage boil up. "Good, keep an eye on her. I want to know everything, every place she goes, every person she talks to." I paused, then added, "and keep it discreet. I don't want her to know I'm onto her yet." That night I sat in the dark, staring at the footage. Seeing her face on those pictures, her hair messy, her eyes darting around like she was doing something she shouldn't, something she knew was wrong, made my stomach turn. I had to admit, part of me felt like I'd finally uncovered her true self. She wasn't the woman I married. She was someone else, someone who could lie, cheat, and betray without any remorse. I knew I had to confront her again, but not yet. I needed to be strategic. I decided to send her a message, something cold and calculated. No threats, just a reminder that I wasn't in the dark anymore. I typed out a simple message. "I know everything. You can't hide from the truth. You've lost me and I won't be coming back." I hit send, then immediately blocked her number. I needed her to feel the pressure, to realize I was serious. If she thought she could keep lying or pretending everything was fine, she was dead wrong. From that moment, I kept a close eye on her movements. Every time she stepped outside, I wondered if she was meeting her boss or just trying to pretend nothing was wrong. I felt a cold satisfaction creeping in. She was finally starting to see that I was no longer blind. Meanwhile, I started assembling my next move. I wasn't just going to divorce her and walk away. I was planning to make her regret it every step of the way. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal. I wanted her to understand that I had enough evidence to take her down if I needed to. I also reached out to an attorney, just to start learning my options. I wanted to be prepared for what was coming. I knew, deep down, this wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about making her see that trust once broken can never be fully repaired. That's what fuels my resolve now, to make her pay in some way for the pain she caused. All the while, I kept telling myself one thing: I would not be the fool anymore. I'd been naive for too long, but now I was wide awake, and I'd make sure she knew exactly what she'd lost. I didn't want to be just another guy betrayed. I wanted to be the guy who finally took back his power. Next, I planned to confront her directly with everything I'd gathered. I wanted her to understand that I was serious about ending this on my terms, that any hope she had of walking away unscathed was gone. I was tired of feeling like a victim. From now on, I'd be the one in control. That evening, I knew I had to face her in person. I'd spent days watching her every move, gathering all the evidence I needed, and now it was time to lay everything out. I wanted her to see I wasn't just angry. I was done being manipulated, done being played for a fool. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I prepared myself as best I could. I printed out the evidence, screenshots, chat logs, photos from the investigator. I put everything in a folder I kept in my backpack, ready to be dropped on her like a hammer. My hands felt clammy, my stomach was churning, but I knew I had to do this. I had to make her see that I'd uncovered her lies, that I'd been patient, but now I was done waiting. When she got home that evening, I could tell she was nervous. She looked around, trying to act natural, but her eyes darted everywhere. Her hands trembled slightly as she hung up her coat. I decided to be direct, no more beating around the bush. "Can we talk?" I asked, voice steady but cold. She hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, what's going on?" I pulled out the folder, laid it on the table between us. "This is everything I've been collecting. All the messages, photos, everything. I want you to see it for what it is." Her face paled. What is that?" "This," I said, my voice hardening, "is proof that you've been lying to me during my pregnancy. While I was trying to focus on us, you were sneaking around with your boss. You think I didn't notice how secretive you've been, how you'd hide your phone, lie about where you were going." She looked down, voice trembling. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. I was just stressed, overwhelmed." I cut her off. "That's bullshit. You did this because you wanted to, because you chose to. You betrayed everything we built, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I can forget it." She broke down crying. "Please don't do this. I love you. I was stupid, but I want to fix it. I swear I'll stop. Just give me a chance." I took a step back, voice colder than steel. "You don't get to decide that anymore. I'm done. I saw everything. I know the truth, and I won't be part of this anymore. You lied, you cheated, and you betrayed me during one of the most important times in our lives. You've shattered my trust beyond repair." Her tears spilled freely now. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was weak, I was stupid." "No," I said sharply. "It was a choice, your choice, and it's over now." I gathered the folder, my hands trembling just a little, but my resolve firm. "You're out of this house tonight. Pack your things and leave. I want you gone by the morning." She looked at me with wide, distraught eyes. "You're really serious?" "Dead serious," I told her. "And don't try calling, texting, or showing up here. I want no contact until we're at the lawyer's office." I turned and walked out, leaving her standing there, tears streaming down her face. My chest felt heavy, but a strange sense of relief washed over me too. I'd finally taken control. I'd finally done what I'd been planning for days. Later that night, I sat on the porch, staring at the dark sky. My mind was racing with questions. Did I do the right thing? Was this the end of everything I knew? I didn't have answers yet. All I knew was that I'd reclaimed my life, even if it meant starting over. The next morning, I handed over the keys to her car and the house. I filed for divorce, making sure the papers clearly reflected the betrayal and the emotional damage she'd caused. I wanted her to see that her actions had consequences. I wanted her to understand that trust, once broken, isn't easy to mend. As I stapled the divorce papers together, I felt a strange calm. I knew this was the beginning of healing, not just for me, but for my future. I realized I'd spent so long trying to build a family that I forgot to protect myself. Now I was doing that. If I could give any advice to someone in my shoes, it's this: trust your gut. When you see the red flags, don't ignore them. Confront, gather evidence, and don't be afraid to take control. Because, in the end, you're the only one who can decide what your worth really is. And I finally remembered mine. Sitting here now, I can't help but reflect on everything I went through. It's been brutal, no doubt about it. But honestly, I feel like I've finally taken back some of my life. The pain still lingers. I won't pretend it doesn't. But there's a strange relief in knowing I did everything I could, that I didn't just sit around and accept the lies. That night, after I handed over the keys and told her to get out, I finally felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was like I'd been carrying this heavy backpack filled with betrayal and disappointment, and I just dumped it on the floor. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without that crushing sense of betrayal choking me. I looked around at my home, my house, and realized it wasn't really mine anymore. But that's okay. It's the start of something new. I took a long shower, washing away the sweat, tears, and stress of the past few weeks. Standing under the warm water, I felt the tears come again, but this time they were different. They weren't tears of despair. They were tears of release. I finally let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing. The pain, the anger, the hopelessness, all of it. But then I made a decision. I wouldn't let her or anyone else define me. I packed my things that morning, not just my clothes, but also my hopes for a different future. I kept the evidence I'd collected, proof of her betrayal, to remind myself that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't imagining things. I kept it in a safe spot, just in case I ever needed to show someone who believed me, who understood the depth of what I'd gone through. As I handed over the last of my keys, I looked at the empty house one last time. I felt nothing but a quiet sense of closure. I knew I had to move on, but I also knew that I'd be stronger for it. This betrayal was a brutal lesson, but it was also a wake-up call. It pushed me to finally see my own worth, to stop sacrificing my happiness for someone who didn't deserve it. I want to say this. If you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, don't ignore those red flags. Trust your instincts. When you see something that doesn't sit right, act on it. Gather your evidence, confront the truth, and don't be afraid to walk away. It's hard, it hurts, and it feels like you're losing everything. But trust me, staying in a lie will cost you more in the long run. Healing isn't linear, and I know I'll have my bad days. But I also know that I took control of my life again. I refused to be a victim of betrayal, and I reclaimed my dignity. I'm not the same person I was a month ago, and I'm okay with that. I've learned that sometimes the only way to move forward is to cut ties with what no longer serves you. So, here's my final advice: be brave. Face the truth head on, protect yourself. And remember, your worth isn't determined by someone else's mistakes. You have the power to start over, to rebuild, and to find happiness again, even after everything. I closed the door behind her that morning, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a little hope. That's what I'll hold on to now. Hope that better days are coming, days where I can trust myself again and build a life based on honesty, not lies. Because in the end, that's what really matters. Not the betrayal, not the pain, just the strength to move on and find my peace.